For the introduction, multiple regression analysis is a statistical method for determining the relationship between a dependent variable and several independent variables. We are trying to forecast the dependent variables, and the independent variables are the ones we think impact the dependent variable. Furthermore, this analysis is a more complex statistical process than a straightforward linear regression, which examines the relationship between one dependent variable and one independent variable. On the other hand, the relationship between a dependent variable and several independent factors can be better understood and reported with a greater precision through multiple regression analysis. In technical research, multiple regression analysis help solve various research issues. It could be used, for instance, to look into a relationship between a student's academic performance and a range of variables like their GPA, scores on standardized tests, and attendance rate to find a variable most crucial to a patient's prognosis following in a particular illness, or to figure out what variables are most likely to influence a buyer's decision to buy a good or services. Multiple regression analysis is a valuable statistical technique for addressing various research questions. Applying it appropriately is essential as it closely examining the outcomes. For the scope of research, this DORAF analysis covers a considerable period from 2005 to 2009 of 5 years worth of data. To give a detailed analysis, to guarantee a comprehensive study, several independent variables have also been carefully picked in addition to the dependent variable, the LPR value. These independent factors add to thoroughly examining the topic, including lot area, building area, holding type, and number of rooms. Terrace, detached, and semi-detached house data, among other dwelling types, have been added to the dataset to guarantee its exclusivity. These variables were carefully chosen considering their applicability and appropriateness for the data analysis. Using this variable, the study seeks to provide a thorough understanding of the relationship between the independent and dependent variable, eliminating the variable that affect the LPR value in the particular setting. This research aims to offer a thorough and nuanced analysis of a topic by extending the analysis to include a significant period and adding a wide range of pertinent independent variables, providing insightful information about the dynamic of the data under review. That's all from me. Thank you.
For the next part is analysis purpose. So in order to conduct this assignment, our group used multiple regression analysis (MRA), a statistical method to assess our data. Multiple regression analysis is the most compatible technique to determine the relationship between variables that have effect and cause. So MRA helps us in terms of assessing the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. One dependent and many independent variable comprise multilinear regression model. Also, MRA develop a linear relationship between equation with two variables. This investigation aims to determine if the independent variable affected the dependent variable. So it also looks at how the independent and dependent variable are related. There are a total of 5 types of residents were evaluated that comprise of 3 different residential properties, including detached, semi-detached, single and double story, and terrace single and double story. So the dependent variable used in the study is LPR, which relates to the cost of the house. So to test the factor that influence the cost, the independent variable include the number of rooms, lot area, building area, holding type were all being tested out. So the complementary of all these attributes dictate the primary objective of determining whether it is relatable and how they are connected.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Akbar Yassin, and right now I will be presenting the 4.0 application of the model. So after removing and cleaning the blank data to ensure that SPSS can perform multiple regression analysis without problems, in this session we will use the same dependent and independent variables to test the result for terrace, detached and semi-detached house for 2005 to 2009 for properties in Johor Bahru. Hence, we have choose that dependent variables will be nilai LPR and the independent variables, which is the lot area, building area, holding types, and number of rooms. Alright, after we run the model in the SPSS, we have this model which is 1, 2, and 3. The R-squared value obtained from the multiple regression model was 0.42. This indicates that the combined impacts of luas lot bangunan and pajakan may explain 42% of the variance in the nilai LPR. It shows a moderate fit, implying that nilai LPR satisfaction may also be influenced by other factors not included in the model. Alright, for the coefficient model, from model 1, we discovered n positive coefficient estimate B 278.862 with a positive relative value of 5.307. Even when controlling for other variables, this positive association suggests that higher loss lot is linked to higher nilai LPR. For the second model, we again saw the positive coefficient estimates for both variables in model 2, which had two variables as predicted variables such as luas lot and luas lot bangunan. So a positive correlation between luas lot bangunan and nilai LPR may be indicated by the coefficient estimate B for luas lot bangunan, which may be 1346.307. In this model, nilai LPR positively correlates with both luas lot and luas lot bangunan. For the model 3 with three predicted variables, which is the luas lot bangunan, and pajakan, we discovered a negative coefficient estimate B negative 12.477 with a negative t value in model 3. This negative coefficient indicates that nilai LPR tend to decrease in this model as luas lot bangunan, and pajakan rises. This finding suggests a complex link between luas lot bangunan, and pajakan, which varies depending on the model and variables used. Luas lot and luas lot bangunan correlate with nilai LPR in models 1 and 2. However, all three variables and nilai LPR are negatively correlated in model 3, which has a pajakan. Next, for the model summary of a double-story terrace house, the R square value obtained from the multiple regression model was 0.606. This indicates that the combined impacts of luas lot bangunan, and pajakan can explain 61% of the variance in the nilai LPR. It shows a moderate fit, implying that nilai LPR satisfaction may also be influenced by other factors not included in the model. Next, for the model summary of a double-story terrace house, the R square value obtained from the multiple regression model was 0.606. This indicates that the combined impacts of luas lot bangunan, and pajakan can explain 61% of the variance in the nilai LPR. It shows a moderate fit, implying that nilai LPR satisfaction may also be influenced by other factors not included in the model. Alright, next for the coefficients table. For model 1, we discovered a positive coefficient estimates B 395.875 in model 1, which had one variable was lot as the predicted variable with a p-value of less than 0.001. There is a substantial correlation between higher luas lot and higher nilai LPR. For the model 2, we found positive coefficient estimates for both variables luas lot and luas lot bangunan. In model 2, which had two variables, predicted variables, the p-value is less than 0.001. For example, luas lot has a coefficient estimate for 225.684, whereas luas lot bangunan has a coefficient estimate 1541.474. For the model 3, there were positive coefficient estimate for all three variables, luas lot bangunan, and pajakan, with p-value less than 0.001 in model 3, which included all three variables as predicted variables. This implies a significant correlation between higher values of all three variables and higher nilai LPR. The strong evidence indicates a positive association between luas lot bangunan, and pajakan. Based on these consistent findings across all three models, the dependability of these associations is further confirmed by the solid statistical significance p less than 0.001. And for the terrace last part is the scatter plot, the dependent variable nilai LPR. The scatter plot shows that the independent variables in the linear regression model can account for approximately 39.4% of the variability in the dependent variable nilai LPR, with an R square value of 0.394. It shows that a significant portion of the observed variance in the variable model as the independent variables in the model can explain the dependent variable. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
I'm going to present about the test housing. A statewide regression analysis was conducted adding and removing variables based on their significance. Luas law Bangunan, Luas law and Bajakan were added to the module and remain throughout the process. Nilai LPR is the dependent variable predicted by this factor. Its variable profitability to FMT was below 0.050, indicating that there were significant predictors of nilai LPR at the 0.15 level. Now we are going to talk about the module summary. The R value shows how much of the dependent variable variation is explained by the independent variable. In this model, 81.9% of the variation's nilai LPR is explained. The adjusted R-squared value show that 77.4% of the variance in nilai LPR is explained by the module, giving a more cautious measure of it. On average, the estimate values of 0516.521 away from the actual value according to the standard error. Now I'm going to say about the ANOVA. At a 0.050 level of significance, Module 3 had the highest F values of 90.277, showing that it is statistically significant and includes all three variables, Luas law Bangunan, Luas law and Bajakan. In the ANOVA table, Module 3 has the highest F value, indicating the best fit to the data. With a regression sum of square of 3.270 e plus 11 is explained 81.7% of the total variation, highlighting its statistical significance. Next, confusion. In Module 1, each unit increase in Laszlo Bangunan rise nilai LPR by 2571.092 unit. In Module 2, each unit increase in Laszlo Bangunan rise nilai LPR by 2974.420 unit, and each unit increase in Laszlo rise nilai LPR by 284.794 unit. In Module 3, each unit increase in Laszlo Bangunan rise nilai LPR by 2183.927 unit. Each unit increase in Laszlo rise nilai LPR by 326.91906 unit, and each unit increase in Bajakan rise nilai LPR by 3808.221 units. Scatter plot. A positive correlation between a dependent and independent variable is indicated by the tendency of the point to create an outward sloping pattern from left to right. The nilai LPI variable typically rises in line with the increase of the independent variable.
I will continue with 4.3, which is semi-detached. We will use multiple regression analysis to understand the data provided by the SPSS program for semi-detached. For the first one is model summary for semi-detached single story. Only luas lot, the independent variable, is included in model 1. There is a positive but modest association between luas lot and nilai LPR according to the correlation coefficient of R, which is 0.347. Luas lot may account for 12.1% of the variation in nilai LPR according to the R-square of 0.121. The regression model is statistically significant overall, as shown by the F statistic 38.424, which is substantial P0.001. In Model 2, luas lot and jenis pegangan are example of independent variable. The dependent and independent variables have a strong and positive association, as indicated by the correlation coefficient of R, which is 0.4
The R-square of 0.162 show that luas lot and jenis pegangan account for 16.2% of the variation in nilai LPR. The regression model is statistically significant even with the addition of the jenis pegangan as indicated by the F statistic 13.923, which is substantial P0.001. The independent variable in model 3 are luas lot, jenis pegangan, and luas bangunan. The most substantial positive association among all model is indicated by the R correlation coefficient, which is 0.418. According to the R-square of 0.175, luas lot, jenis pegangan, and luas bangunan account for 17.5% of the variation in nilai LPR. After including the luas bangunan, the regression model is still statistically significant according to the F statistic 4.127, which is substantial P equal 0.043. Next is coefficient. Every unit in model 1 increase the luas lot. The nilai LPR is expected to rise by 249.386 unit. In model 2, there is a forecasted rise of 253.884 unit in nilai LPR for every unit increase in luas lot. Furthermore, a jenis pegangan unit will rise cause a 62834.733 unit drop in nilai LPR. In model 3, an increase of 1 unit in luas lot correspond to a forecasted rise of 255.502 unit in nilai LPR. Jenis pegangan will also grow by 1 unit for every 58756.433 unit that nilai LPR decreases. Finally, a unit rise in luas bangunan will result in a 404.069 unit in increase in nilai LPR. Next is scatter plot. An R-square of 0.825 indicate that the independent variable account for 82.5% of the variability in the dependent variable. The scatter plot demonstrates a trend, meaning that the variable LPR trend consistently changes when the independent variable rise. We move to model summary for semi-detached double story. Only luas bangunan, the independent variable, is included in model 1. The intensity and direction of the linear relationship between the predictors and the dependent variable are represented by the correlation coefficient of R, which is 0.524. According to the R-square of 0.274, luas bangunan account for 27.4% of the variation in nilai LPR. The R-square changes of 0.274 show that adding the predictors significantly increase the variation explained. Model 2 involve luas bangunan and luas lot. Model 3 involve luas bangunan, luas lot, and bilik tidur. And Model 4 involve luas bangunan, luas lot, bilik tidur, and jenis pegangan. These models share a great deal of comparable data. Model 2 is the R-square increased to 0.349 by adding luas lot. Model 3 is including bilik tidur cause the R-square to rise to 0.357 marginally. Model 4, the R-square increases to 0.364 due to jenis pegangan's inclusion. Next is coefficient. Every unit increases in luas bangunan for model 1. The nilai LPR is expected to rise by 2050.377 units. In model 2, there is an expected 1926.165 unit rise in nilai LPR for every unit increase in luas bangunan. Additionally, there will be a 444.997 unit increase in nilai LPR for every unit rise in luas lot. In model 3, an increase of 1890.48 units is anticipated in nilai LPR for every unit rise in luas bangunan. Additionally, there will be a 443.664 unit increase in nilai LPR for every unit rise in luas lot. Lastly, a unit rise in bilik tidur will result a 24019.69 unit increase in nilai LPR. In model 4, there is a forecasted rise of 1827.935 units in nilai LPR for every unit increase in luas bangunan. Additionally, there will be a 439.755 unit rise in nilai LPR for every unit increase in luas lot. Thirdly, the nilai LPR will rise by 26762.730 unit for every unit increase in bilik tidur. Last but not least, it shows that using jenis pegangan as a predictor will cause nilai LPR to drop by 63019.089 units.
The last one is scatter plot. R square of 0.636 suggests that 63.6% of the variability in the dependent variable can be attributed to the independent variable. The scatter plot shows a moderate linear relationship between the nilai LPR and the independent variables compared to the single-story demi-detached. That's all from me. Thank you. To conclude the finding from the SPSS analysis, it revealed a significant relationship between the tested factors. So we employ suitable approach such as Spearman's rank correlation coefficient for nonlinear correlation and Pearson's correlation coefficient for linear relationship to analyze our data. The correlation coefficient indicate the strengths and directions of the relationship using appropriate methods. There are several variables were tested including luas lot bangunan and pajakan as independent variables and nilai LPR as the dependent variable. Among the models analysed, the model 3 emerged as the most effective for single and two-story terrace home, boasting the highest R-squared value. This indicates the best correlation among the included variable for detached houses. For semi-detached houses, model 3 also proved to be the best model as demonstrated by the positive R-squared value for both semi-detached single-story and double-story houses. So in summary, the association identified using SPSS provide valuable insight into the relationship between various elements. The correlation coefficient and other statistical tests help in understanding the data's characteristic by calculating the magnitude, direction and significance of this linkage. This finding highlight the importance of selecting the right model to accurately represent the relationship in the data, ultimately aiding in making informed decisions based on the analysis.